Fine cross towards Vialli from Lombardo. That's Cerezo with the shot! Dossena takes the corner. Zanico saw it a little late. Oh, a great goal! Manini! Phenomenal goal! Here's Lombardo trying to improve even further Sampdoria's spirits here. Oh, and it's rucked away by the player of the year, perhaps, in Italy, Gianluca Vialli.
Those goals back in May sparked a summer of celebration in the picturesque Italian seaport of Genoa. Now we're at the start of a new season in Italy, in a league where we've come to expect a wide and varied challenge for the championship. There have been 6 different champions in the last 7 years. In 1985, Verona won the title for the first time in their history. And now, after a season in the second division, the Bentegodi is set to stage top-flight football again. Foggia, Ascoli and Cremonese, the other promoted clubs, have never won the championship. But for Juventus in 1986, it was a record 22nd time. The decisive victory coming on the last day of the season at Lecce. This the third of their goals in a 3-2 victory. '87 was the year of Napoli and Diego Maradona. Maradona, then in his second season in Italy, inspiring Napoli for their first championship. A year later, Milan took the title. Ironically, the decisive match was in the reigning champions' own backyard. A triumph orchestrated that day by Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten, the great Dutchman who took up the Italian challenge so readily. The championship remained in the city of Milan in 1989, but red and black gave way to blue and black of Inter and their foreign imports Matthäus and Bremer from Germany. Napoli's triumph in 1990 was their second in 4 years and owed as much to the influence of a rejuvenated Maradona as it did to the late failings of Milan that season. The 1991 champion Sampdoria will be the team to try to beat in the new season. As coach Boskov puts it, we now have 17 enemies instead of 3 or 4. One other club aiming to have a greater impact on the first division is Bari, who spent £17 million in the summer. David Platt, bought from Aston Villa of England for £5.5 million. An instant hero in Italy, as his introduction to the Bari fans showed. A look back at our table of past champions shows that the once mighty Juventus haven't won the title for 5 years, a poor return for a club of such high standards. Indeed, failure to qualify for European competition this forthcoming season was greeted with disbelief. Juventus only flattered to deceive last season, and stars such as Roberto Baggio and Salvatore Schillaci didn't live up to their huge billing. Jürgen Kohler and Stefan Reuter have been bought to strengthen a suspect defence. But the Juventus fans are heralding the return of Giovanni Trapattoni, a man they're calling the Messiah. Trapattoni's so successful in the past with Juventus, he's hoping to bring back his golden touch. And that's where we kick off the 1991-92 season in the Stadio dell'Alpi in Turin, Juventus against Fiorentina. And with me in the commentary box is Trevor Francis.
Well, this is the first team put out by Trapattoni on his return. It contains 3 new faces. Carrera is one of them from Bari, and he joins the Germans Reuter and Kohler. A major test for Giovanni Trapattoni, though, is whether he can draw more consistent form from Salvatore Schillaci, only 5 goals last season, and Roberto Baggio, who blew hot and cold, but of course remains a match winner. Can he be a championship winner? The team's led out by referee Angelo Amendolia, a 40-year-old Sicilian from Messina. And an explosion of noise as the Italian fans, so partisan, who care so deeply about the game, recognise the start now of 9 months of entertainment, the highs and the lows of following these big clubs. And for Juventus, they're badly in need of some highs after, really by their exalted standards, a wretched time last season. Baggio starting here against his old club, Fiorentina, who are under the control again of the Brazilian coach, Sebastião Lazzaroni. He now has 3 South American players. Carlos Dunga in midfield, a survivor from last season. Joined now by Mazinho, who played well for Lecce, but they were relegated, of course. But Borgonovo is preferred up front to the 3rd South American, Gabriel Batistuta, a real hero for Argentina recently in the Copa America. Batistuta is a substitute today. Well, Trapattoni has been away for 5 years in which Juventus have failed to win the title, which was theirs 6 times in 10 years when Trapattoni was previously here. They're calling him the Messiah in these parts. But now the real test is underway. Juventus attacking the goal to the left in the first half of their first game of the new campaign. Fiorentina, 12th last season, only 2 away wins against relegated clubs, Pisa and Cesena. But they've invested heavily in the transfer market as well. Fiondello, the number 2. Nice turn by Orlando, who was with Juventus at the start of last season. They loaned him to Fiorentina, and he's now become a permanent player. Juventus anxious to impose themselves here, roared on by their fanatical followers. Well, 2 seasons ago, Schillaci got 15 goals for Juventus. That got him into the World Cup squad, and his contribution for Italy, now part of the folklore of the game, but an understandable reaction last season when the goals were few and far between. Baggio was trying to settle in as well. He's got a great fondness for Fiorentina for his 5 years with the Florence-based club. They'll try and put that aside today. Here's Luigi De Agostini. Schillaci and Di Canio trying to manufacture something beyond the far post, but the ball didn't drop for them. Here's Stefan Reuter, renowned for the speed in his game. He's a real sprinter. Corobi, the fair-haired left-back for Fiorentina, losing out to Di Canio. And it was a chance for Casiraghi, as the ball was helped on, I'm sure, towards goal. Schillaci had hoped, but in the end it looped towards Casiraghi, who's strong in the air. Trevor, it's understandably tense at this time in the early seconds of the season.
Yes, you mentioned the speed there of Reuter, but it hasn't been a particularly quick opening to the game. I think both sides really are just trying to settle into the pace of the game, but it's certainly not a high-tempo game at this early stage.
Maiolaro's cross, it was hit with some pace too. Just veering above Borgonovo, who went to the near post. Now watch Reuter run. Well, you weren't given the opportunity to do that because Dunga was aware of the danger.
Yes, it was a good cross from Maiolaro. I think it surprised the Juventus defence. In fact, it was bad defending because he shouldn't have been allowed to cross the ball from that situation. Should have been a bit more determined challenge to stop the ball from coming in.
Certainly Dunga was determined to stop Reuter raising a turn of speed. D'Agostini. It back from Casiraghi and then in turn from Schillaci. Marocchi. Reuter. Baggio takes over. Oh, and Casiraghi at the far post. It was the type of header that he would hope to get on target, although the ball dipped over the last defender to get to him.
Well, that's the combination I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. The ball from Baggio there to Casiraghi. It was a terrific ball. I think it surprised Casiraghi, but that's something that we have to watch for throughout this game. The skills of Baggio, which we come to expect.
Here's the Juventus Brazilian who had some years playing in France, Julio César. D'Agostini. The free kick for Baggio. And it didn't quite run right for Juventus on the edge of the area. They might be able to sustain the attack here with Julio César. Not really in a position to angle the ball beyond defenders. So central was he then. Julio César asked to open up Fiorentina again. Baggio takes over. He's lost Salvatore. Here's Di Canio, and it was a cross that certainly interested Schillaci from Paolo Di Canio.
Once again, another great ball from Baggio, which found Di Canio. I feel that if Juventus are going to open up this Fiorentina defence, somewhere along the line, Baggio's going to be involved. That's the third time now that we've seen a little bit of magic from him. He certainly is a talented player. Just a couple of minutes ago, we saw him turn his marker, Salvatore, to open up the Fiorentina defence, but a little bit of misunderstanding, but he's certainly involved in this opening 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
So too is Marocchi. He's a different type of talent. But Borgonovo, with Orlando up with him. And he made Orlando check. They thought a hand was used in the challenge there, but the referee saw nothing wrong. And here's Julio César, who wants to go on and get into the centre. Kept in by D'Agostini. Pierluigi Casiraghi, who's only 22. It's his third season in the picture with Juventus. He's had to do some of his recent work in contention with the military service as well. The feeling is in Turin that Trapattoni, who was criticised by some of his Inter players last season for being too defensive in away matches, that he will first and foremost tighten Juventus at the back. And he's inherited plenty of attacking talent, like Schillaci, looking to link up with Casiraghi and Baggio then, but it didn't come off. D'Agostini. Game being asked to cross with his right foot, but look at the space here. In fact, Casiraghi, in taking the ball on the chest, steered it away from the goal, so he had to twist into the overhead kick.
Yes, I think he was caught in two minds there, Casiraghi. Just a little bit too low for him to header, and just a little bit too high for him to get the volley in, so he decided to bring it down his chest. And as you know, in Italy, you only have a split second to make a decision, and once he decided to have two touches, he lost the opportunity of an attempted goal.
Half an hour gone. Juventus getting more of the ball. Fiorentina's resolve and their tactical plan being examined now, as Juventus in particular are starting to get their crosses in. And it's Casiraghi rather than Schillaci who's looking the menace. This is Massinho! Wonderful try. And Tacconi, who's not had a great deal to do, called upon then to palm the ball away. The corner already taken, Karobi crosses. Julio Cesar boots it away. And that's one thing when you buy South American players, they can usually shoot, and Massinho then misconnects as he tries to cross. Is no exception.
Well, that shot there from Massinho certainly took us by surprise, but fortunately for Juventus, the one person that matters, that's Tacconi, it didn't take him by surprise. That was a great save, because I think that was just creeping inside the far post.
Baggio spent 5 years with Fiorentina, 85 to 90. And on personal grounds, I think would have liked to have stayed, but on professional grounds, he had to take his opportunity when Juventus came in. 5 minutes to go to half-time. A free kick for Juventus. Oh, and a great save! A terrific save by Maragini from Cola, who must have thought that his first league game in Italy was going to be marked by a goal once he got to that Baggio free kick so solidly. And Maragini, not for the first time in this first half, catches cleanly.
Yes, it was a good free kick from Baggio, flighted nicely in for Kohler. But I would think that Borgano will be disappointed, because he was detailed to mark Kohler there, and he loses his marker. Borganova allowed Kohler to get in behind him, gets in a free header. There's a good save from Maragini to keep Fiorentina in the game.
Dunga was delightfully done. Maialaro. It was a fairly robust piece of play by Marocchi. And complaints from Orlando, who felt that he was inside the penalty area there and that Fiorentina should have had something. And Orlando spoke out of turn. So we've had 2 yellow cards, both of them for dissent.
Well, when we talk about interpretation of rules, you saw something different there, because I'm sure if that had happened in England, you wouldn't have seen a player being booked for that. But in Italy, of course, if you make anything, any suggestion of a demonstration towards the referee, you immediately go in the book.
De Agostini. Yes! The power in the air of Casiraghi brings Juventus their first goal of the season. With less than 3 minutes to go to half-time. And there had been the signs earlier in the half that that could be the route. And that's the way it's turned out. First time volleyed cross by De Agostini, and Casiraghi climbed splendidly. Eyes on the ball, and not distracted by the defender. In fact, he had more of a moving jump than the standing jump of Fiondella, who was deputed to try and stop him.
Well, my only comment there on that is that Fiondella is a young, inexperienced player, and I think he certainly showed it there, because I would have wanted more resistance from my defender. He knows that Casiraghi is outstanding in the air. He was so weak with his... I'll just leave it there for a second.
Oh. The game here has taken another turn, a dramatic one against Fiorentina. Orlando is off. Booked earlier and involved here right in front of the referee. He caught Cola, and look at that, the referee was reaching for the red card instantly. Fiorentina must have been thinking that they were safely through, and there's Orlando kicking away at the advertising hoardings in anger at the decision. But Fiorentina must have been thinking that they'd got through to half-time safely at 0-0 with everyone on the pitch, and the red card has provoked fury in the stands, and there was, before the game started, trouble in that area of the ground. And Fiorentina have lost a goal, they've lost a player within a matter of seconds in this explosive end to the first half. And really, before we had time to take in the goal and its implications, there was another dreadful dimension for the visiting team. Facenda. And Lazzaroni, who was probably sitting on the bench just thinking about what he was going to say to his team, has had to rewrite the script twice in a matter of seconds. And still, the forces of law and order are trying to restore calm inside the ground. Di Canio, the chance now for Juventus really to put on a show. Oh, and Casiraghi was incomprehensibly unselfish then. I can't believe that he didn't go for goal himself.
Oh, I can't believe it myself, Martin. Di Canio, great bit of individual skill. Set him up there. Casiraghi up for a shot at goal. He decided to cross it. I couldn't believe it.
There was trouble before the game started. It was brought to order before the teams came out. And one hopes that that can happen again during half-time, which is now upon us. It seemed that the first half was going to end with praise for Fiorentina for their homework tactically that they'd done to stop Reuter and his teammates making a bright start here. But then it fell apart for Fiorentina with Casiraghi's header after they looked vulnerable to his prowess in the air earlier in the game. And then the sending off of 20-year-old Massimo Orlando in a flashpoint straight afterwards. At half-time in Turin, it's Juventus 1, Fiorentina 0. Fiorentina start the second half. Juventus holding all the best cards here. A goal up, playing against 10 men. And incidentally, just checking at half-time, referee Amendolia showed the red card 7 times in 15 First Division matches that he took charge of last season. Maybe he's like the hanging judges of the history books, one to avoid. But he's sent off the former Juventus player Massimo Orlando here. And Trevor Francis, one wonders really what Fiorentina can do in this position.
Well, it's completely ruined the manager Lazzaroni's plans, pre-match plans, because he came here with a very defensive formation, just leaving Borgonovo in a forward position. We were hoping that we're going to see Batistuta playing, but of course he's on the bench. And I would think now that down to 10 men, there's not too much chance of him coming on in the near future, but you know, perhaps later in the game, if Borgonovo is tiring, we may have a glimpse for the first time of Batistuta.
And if Fiorentina can keep it at 1-0, the Italian league does have something of a history of teams with 10 men scoring. But they just cannot afford to let Baggio roam free and create further chances here. So much responsibility on Borgonovo, even when it was 11 aside as the one out-and-out Fiorentina forward. It's a most unenviable task for him now. Baggio's lengthy pass. Pursued with plenty of vigour by Schillaci until Pioli put him on the canvas.
Once again, a wonderful pass from Baggio, putting the ball in an area where defenders don't like the ball to be played. In behind Pioli for the pace of Schillaci.
Oh, and it was a teasing cross as well that Maragini just got to. De Agostini, who manufactured that ball that Casiraghi headed in for the only goal of the game so far. Di Canio, Marocchi. Oh, Schillaci, who would be aching to get a goal, to get him off to this season on the right foot. Should have had it then. Clearly onside. Linesman saw it, kept the flag down, and he just went to try and overpower the goalkeeper, really. Maialaro. But more and more with the changes in the laws of the game, teams will have to come to terms with playing with 10 men. But Schillaci challenges them here and puts it half a metre outside the post. When goal number 2 for Juventus looked apparent.
Yes, it was a good break from Schillaci. 1 against 1 here with Pioli. It just drifts past the far post.
The problem for Juventus at the moment is they're not really getting their shots on target. Only 4 out of 12. Julio Cesar, we were saying earlier in the game that his distribution was being tested. We shouldn't forget that it was his ball to De Agostini that was directed across for Casiraghi to open up Fiorentina. Here's Salvatore, who has more about his game than just the man-for-man marking that we saw the role given to him earlier in the match. He's played for the under-21 team for Italy, and I think the B team as well.
La Fiorentina sostituisce il numero 9 Borgonovo e il numero 16 Batistuta.
And Borgonovo has gone off, and here is Batistuta, the discovery of the Copa America, which immediately earned him the riches of a career here in Italy at the expense of another Argentinian player, La Torre, who was going to come to Fiorentina.
Don't be surprised if Trapattoni responds by taking a forward off now and bring on an extra defender. Well,
Paolo Di Canio
La Juventus
is replaced by Roberto Gallia, who is more defensively orientated as Trevor Francis looks into his crystal ball and reads the mind of Trapattoni. Mazzino. Oh, and Tacconi hesitates. Back from Maialaro. And it will go out of play in the end, but it wasn't, first of all. Trapattoni has been keeping the shape of the side very much as it started this game in his pre-season matches and the Italian Cup. So he clearly believes, with 1 or 2 minor alterations, this is his best team. Salvatore. Dunga. A bit of obstruction there. Baggio not 100% fit at the moment. Dunga. Here's Mazinho trying to get the ball back from Salvatore, but he neglected to give it to him in the first place. And Juventus with plenty of space to break into with Schillaci. Just an air of discontent from time to time from the home support, who really seem to be expecting the style as well as the victory. But last year, when they were still a stylish team, they didn't win often enough, so the priorities are quite apparent. Mailaro. Salvatore, here's Batistuta. Can he bring the goal touch from Argentina to Italy? Salvatore, but the whistle's already gone in favour of Juventus.
Good little spell this of Fiorentina. Considering they have 10 men, they're having quite a bit of possession of the ball, and I feel that one or two of the Juventus players have stopped working as hard as they were in the first 45 minutes. I'm talking mainly about the front players. Baggio, although he's got a lot of freedom now, he's not working as hard as he should be, and Schillaci and Casaraghi are tending to sort of wait around up front. And I wouldn't think that Trapattoni at this stage is too happy with some of his players.
Here's Marocchi. Agostini. And a good advantage played by the referee. It's too long for Casaraghi, who repositions in the centre. Gallia. Mazinho first to it. Batistuta, and a foul by Kohler on Pioli. So Jürgen Kohler starts his education about the different styles of refereeing in Italy to that in Germany. He'd gone upfield again, which he does like to do, and got caught up in that untidy moment on the way back. On comes Giuseppe Iachini for Fiorentina, and Salvatore is the player he's replaced. Iachini was a member of Italy's Olympic squad at Seoul, of course in the Olympics now. Full-time professionals are allowed in the football competition. It is a fascinating competition to follow. Italy were expected to win it, but didn't live up to that billing in '88. And Fiorentina have got another free kick. Well, I must say, Trevor, if I was a Juventus supporter, I'd be very worried and a little bit annoyed as well. Worried at what the opposition might manufacture here in this league when set pieces are such strong weapons, given the degree of talent. Look at the concern on the face of Taccone. Well, is this the scenario for Gabriel Batistuta?
Yes, I think he's decided that he's going to hit it.
And he's going to have another chance, surely. And Schillaci is booked for charging down the free kick by this officious official. Now, will Batistuta have the seniority here after only being in Italy a few days, really.
I don't think Schillaci can have too many complaints, because he was literally 2 yards from the ball when Batistuta tried to hit it.
Maybe it'll be Dunga this time. It is! And just again, as Trevor anticipated, Trapattoni does use up a little more time. And it is Baggio who goes off for Corini. What we have, we hold, is the message from the Juventus dugout. And it's been more difficult holding on to it than they would have anticipated. And there's still maybe time for Fiorentina. Batistuta. And Maialaro. He was straining too hard. He's complaining now that his shirt was tugged as he got into the final stride before letting rip.
Yes, for Maialaro, that was a fair chance, because as we've seen last season, from that sort of distance, he is quite dangerous, and that's possibly Fiorentina's last chance of the afternoon.
Yes, he scored a goal for Bari from almost up at the halfway line. And most of his goals do come from long range. He's an attacking midfield player by trade.
That's the sort of goals I suppose the Bari supporters will be expecting David Platt to score this year.
Oh, from his own goal line, I expect, with that sort of build-up. Here's Karobi. And still the referee hasn't blown for the final time. And Batistuta takes it up. It's a good turn from him. Oh! And that was a shot that seemed from this angle to be veering inside the far post. Taccone may well have stopped it. But Batistuta showing Italian audiences what he is capable of. 6 goals he got in the Copa America as Argentina won the South American Nations Trophy.
Yes, it was certainly a good run by him, a good weaving run, and I think Juventus were fortunate that Julio Cesar was in the right place at the right time.
And there's time for the corner to be taken by Maialaro. It's a deep one. And look who's come upfield. Maragini, the goalkeeper. Maragini came up into the penalty area, Maialaro's corner. And the referee has another incident to deal with that's had officials coming on, and Casiraghi, who was seconds away from being regarded as the hero of the hour with a winning goal, involved in that incident with Maragini. An extraordinary sequence here. The goalkeeper up for the corner, and then he was caught by Maragini, and Casiraghi reacted after that. It is all over, and you can see scars around the left ear there, the cut. And the referee, Angelo Amendolia, has given us controversial endings to both halves. The bottom line is that Juventus have won by 1-0. The goal from Casiraghi, who ended the match in turmoil, and Fiorentina, who lost Orlando just before half-time and played the second half with 10 men, made a real fist of it in the second half. Fist perhaps not the right word, given the nature of the conclusion. These are the final score, and the computer will shortly print out the statistics. Juventus had plenty of shots, but they ended the match in disappointing fashion, having to defend against a display of character by Fiorentina. Juventus 1, Fiorentina 0 is the final score. Casiraghi the scorer, but there was dissent on the field and off it to mar the afternoon.
The champion Sampdoria started their title defence in Sardinia against Cagliari, who spent last season in a successful struggle against relegation. Silas, the Brazilian sign from Cesena, gave Sampdoria a flying start with that fine free kick in the 12th minute. But immediately Bari, claiming he'd played the ball, was ruled to have brought down Gaudenzi, and a penalty to put Cagliari back into the game. Uruguayan Enzo Francescoli was equal to the task, 1-1. Sampdoria responded like champions, regaining the lead in the next attack. Roberto Mancini steering in Sampdoria's second, 3 goals in the opening 15 minutes. Marvellous entertainment. Cagliari could have been level before half-time, with Sampdoria slackening in their application. Capioli's header missing the target. Francescoli scored only 4 times last season, but in this form, he should vastly improve on that. Look at this. A brilliant second goal, 5 minutes into the second half. Gaudenzi from Milan also had a great time. Another rampaging run from him. The ball breaking to Herrera, another of Cagliari's Uruguayans, and Sampdoria 3-2 behind. Fonseca, the third member of the South American trio, a fraction away from making it 4-2. Sampdoria on the verge of a shock defeat now, though Mannini must have thought he'd manufactured an equaliser here. In the final seconds, Pagliuca, Sampdoria's goalkeeper, up for the corner, getting his head to the ball as well. A tremendous day for Cagliari. Sampdoria know now how much everyone wants to beat the champions. Milan are many experts' favourites to win the championship. No distractions from Europe because of their one-year ban. They look good away to promoted Ascoli. Frank Rijkaard forcing the first in a long list of saves from Lorieri. Gambaro bought from Parma, causing Ascoli confusion with the cross. And his fellow Milan defender Costa Curta, the next to threaten a besieged Ascoli defence. Ruud Gullit robbed of his first goal of the season. Trollio to Ascoli's rescue on the line. Milan coming closer and closer. Rijkaard wrapping the post. The Dutchman very influential in Milan's domination. Roberto Donadoni next. His shot booted away in the nick of time by Benetti. But 6 minutes before half-time, the Ascoli resistance finally broken. Donadoni, Albertini with the shot, Gullit heading forward, and then Marco van Basten shooting in off Benetti. But it was the only goal of the game was really down to Lorieri, who prevented 20-year-old Demetrio Albertini from increasing the lead before half-time. In the second half, Lorieri pulled off this tremendous triple save. First from Van Basten, then Albertini, and finally Gullit. A very one-sided 1-0 win for Milan. Like Milan, Inter are under new management this season. Orico taking over from Trapattoni. Lothar Matthäus wore a new number, 5, but was still on the same wavelength as Jürgen Klinsmann against Foggia, last season's second division champions. Matthäus only a decoy here. Fausto Pizzi's free kick, still 0-0 at half-time, and that was fine for Foggia, who were then confronted by Nicola Berti as a substitute for the second half. But 6 minutes into that second period, Foggia into the lead in their first match in the first division since 1978. Rambaudi setting up Faiano to beat Walter Zenga. The lead lasted just 9 minutes, and then Matthäus found Massimo Ciocci, who's back at Inter after an absence of almost 3 years. His flair for goal you'll remember from last season with Cesena. Intense Inter pressure now, and Foggia goalkeeper Mancini stretched by Berti and then by Alessandro Bianchi. Inter 1, Foggia 1 in front of 63,000 in San Siro. Cremonese, another of the promoted quartet, had to pit their wits against Genoa, who finished 4th last season. Thomas Scuravi missing for Genoa, but Carlos Aguilera, his prolific partner in attack, was soon getting into scoring position. The opening goal, though, a splendid free kick by Bortolazzi after 23 minutes. 15 goals from Aguilera last season for Genoa, and his first of the new campaign in first half injury time. Genoa now in total control. The best moments of the second half all came from Genoa. Paccioni doing the job of Scurabi in the air. Another opportunity for Aguilera. And Paccioni should have punished Cremonese here after Aguilera had broken through on the left. Genoa, the only winners on the opening day by 2 clear goals, and the margin could and should have been much wider. Verona were league champions as recently as 1985. They're back now after a season in the second division. Pietro Fanna, a member of that title-winning team, taking this corner against Roma. Rossi's header well kept out by Cervoni. Rossi's aerial strength threatening more damage here. A clash with Brazilian Aldair, who continued after his cut was patched up. Verona, without the suspended Dragan Stojkovic, have also recruited the number 9 Radu Choiu, a Romanian forward from Bari. Radu Choiu's running unsettled Roma, but his inability to finish the chances he fashioned cost Verona dear. Thomas Hessler from Juventus had a better debut for Roma, skillfully carving out the crucial goal for Muzzi with 8 minutes left. Muzzi, a capable stand-in for Rudi Voller. Even then, Verona had enough pressure to win. Cervoni somehow kept out another Rossi header. And then Alessandro Renica, signed from Napoli, nearly did the trick for the home side. Finally, Pin put his header against the Roma bar. Verona shouldn't be too downhearted in defeat. Roma really rode their luck. Meanwhile, in Rome, Lazio, 19 draws last season, were soon into a familiar pattern against Parma. Paul Gascoigne's future club forced to defend. Quoggi's long-range shot saved by Orsi. And Parma, the surprise package of last season, could have taken the lead through Georges Grun. Lazio gave Thomas Doll, the German international, his Italian league debut. Parma's goalkeeper from Brazil, Tafarel, busy in the second half. And Giovanni Stroppa should have done better there. Lazio lacking the killer touch, Karl-Heinz Riedler, the next to waste an opportunity. But it was Stroppa who finally rounded off the pressure on Parma, his scoring shot deviating off defender Nava. That looked enough to bring good news for Gaza. Had Ruben Sosa added a second, a recovery would have been beyond Parma's powers. But in the closing seconds, substitute Ozio glanced in the equaliser. Lazio won, Parma won. Napoli ended last season 8 games unbeaten, a run which coincided with Diego Maradona's departure. Gianfranco Zola now wears the number 10 in Naples with distinction. All the highlights here in the second half, but Atalanta restricted to long-range shooting. Carreca starting his 5th season for Napoli. He was always well to the fore, but not for the first time since Maradona's misadventure. Zola stole the show, a free kick of the pedigree of his predecessor. He's a regular for the first time now and should fully reveal his rich talent. Coming 6 minutes from time, it was a goal worthy of winning both points, and that's the way it turned out. Napoli have a new coach, Ranieri, and he started with a win. Finally to Bari, who've invested £17 million in structuring a side to do more, they hope, than simply survive in the first division. A tough test at home to Torino, with Musi through to beat the Bari defence after just 20 minutes. Bari recovered 8 minutes later thanks to this penalty. Controversial decision. Pusi challenging Parente. Was it contact inside the area? Was it even a foul? Difficult decision for referee Foggia. He ruled Bari's way. David Platt on his Italian debut, not shirking the responsibility, a pressure penalty and a perfect strike. Torino's new Brazilian Casagrande then created another chance for Musi. Platt now to Australia's Frank Farina, and Cookie unable to put the finishing touches to a fine move. Platt and Farina in tandem again towards the end of the game. The header from Farina has been a real success in Europe in Belgian football. 1-1, Bari and Torino, 2 teams with an abundance of ambition this season. So Giovanni Trapattoni was amongst the winners on his return to Juventus, but his team not fully convincing against Fiorentina. Pierluigi Casiraghi reflected the 2 faces of their performance. On an eventful first day of the season, he experienced the pleasure and the pain.